Hey everyone, I think it's time that I come out and tell you the truth. And these are my confessions. Okay, it's really not that serious, but it kind of is. Hey, after some conversations with some people who are really near and dear to my heart, they have convinced me to come from behind the sewing machine and get in front of the camera, but in a new and different way. Actually, if you're not new here, this is actually not new. But we'll talk about that at a later time. But I've kind of done something like this before, but it's actually really been a while. But today's purpose, or the purpose of today's video is to come out and really tell you guys the truth. And I know some of you may have seen the promo and you're kind of like, oh my goodness, like, what is she going to tell us? But this is really just the truth of how and why I started the brand. Yes, I do have and own a brand called the Allen Avenue. What? So even that in itself is mind-boggling to me that some people don't know that, because I've been in this game for such a long time. But it didn't really hit me until I was talking to someone else who we follow each other on socials. We have a pretty good relationship, and he knew nothing about my brand or what I do. And it was a little bit strange to me because I'm like, y'all don't see me posting this stuff on social media. You don't see me reposting it on my page. Like, how do you not know? Um, but that got me thinking and realizing that there's a whole new audience that has no idea who I am, has no idea about the brand. And I think it's time that I start from the beginning and tell the truth. So, my name is Candice G. Allen, and I am the CEO and creative director of the Allen Avenue. Even just saying that in itself is such an amazing revelation for me. And how I started the brand is really a simple story that I'm sure that we all can relate to, but it's something that not until recently really took me back to the beginning. So, the other day, I decided to go to the mall. Actually, it was my birthday, and I decided to go to the mall to look for something to wear. I am a church girl, and I also sing in a group. And every time we sing, we have different colors that we are supposed to wear. Now, we're not about the matchy matchy, it's more about coordinating. You got to coordinate. And so, what our, I guess, group stylist will do is that she'll send us a bunch of different colors, and we can kind of, pick whichever color from the palette that we want to wear. So on this day, on my birthday, I said, you know what, let me go to the mall and see what's going on over there. So right away, I know some of you are like, what? Girl, you just told us that you owned a fashion brand. Why the heck are you going to the mall to look for something to wear? Why weren't you shopping your own brand? And fun fact, I actually did already make something for myself to wear, but I decided in that day and at that moment that I just wanted to go to the mall and see what's out there. It's like, you know, who does the mechanic, like who fixes the mechanic's car or who cuts the barber's hair, right? Like the fashion designer sometimes wants to wear things from other people. So I went to this well-known mall, pretty big mall in my area, and I went into this particular store. Now, fun fact about the store, I used to work there back in the day. Really is where I got my retail start and my love of fashion, but if you know, you know. And I walked in there. I knew this store had two different, I guess, like sub-brands within its organization. So I knew that without a shadow of a doubt, I would be able to find something here. Not only that, this brand has a mixtures of styles, but a lot of modest pieces that I would be able to wear to church. Because again, I used to work at this brand and I'm really familiar with it. So I went into the store. Again, this location, really big, really grand setting. And I was like, all right, cool. This is going to be a piece of cake. You already know which section you want to go into. You already know, like, this is going to be good. So I walked in, and right away I was like, this is it. Because the colors that they were showing in the store that day are the same colors of the color palette that we had to choose from. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a piece of cake, like in and out. Mind you, it was my birthday, so I had already like went out for brunch that day, and I wasn't really prepared to do a whole bunch, like a whole bag of shopping. So, or like trying on clothes. So like when you're going to the mall and you're going to try on clothes, that you have to like wear a certain type of like things. You don't want to go in there with a whole bag of clothes. Like, there's a whole process to the try on process, which is a whole nother story, but cool. So I walked in, seeing all these like lovely colors that fit the color palette, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a piece of cake. And then I started looking. Now, fun fact, I'm 5'3". A lot of people don't believe me when I say that, but I am 5'3", and currently, according to my doctor, I'm 220 pounds. Now, I mean, I don't really know where the 220 pounds is, but I feel like, I got a little bit at the top, I got a little at the bottom, got a little hips, little dips, so I get it. Cool. So I started looking at the different pieces, and I started to get this overwhelming feeling that I had experienced all these years ago, but came back like a rushing wind. And I started to like, now we have words for it, right? Like overwhelmed, overstimulated, like panic attack, anxiety, right? And so I started to feel a couple of those things, and I took a deep breath. I'm like, girl, just take your time. I'm searching. Only sizes I'm seeing are like 2s and 4s and 6s and 8s. As I said, I'm 5'3", 220 pounds. Those are not going to fit. With hips and dips, it's not even going to go over my leg. Like, what's happening? So I made my first round, and I came up empty, and I'm like, yo, it's so crazy that there are so many things in the store, and you're telling me that I can't find anything to wear. So like panic is setting in. I'm starting to feel like overwhelmed and wanting to cry. Like, it just was horrible. So I said, girl, calm down. A, it's your birthday. And B, you're not going down like this. Like, take another walkthrough, but take your time. So, because, again, working with this brand before, I understand that sometimes things are in the change room, and, the associates haven't had a chance to bring them out yet. So sometimes you could be looking at a particular section, and then you come back and you see that like your size is there, or there's another, option because they brought things back. Also, at the same time, there were other associates on the floor who were, I guess they were like kind of changing around the displays. Why you're doing that in the middle of the day when customers are there, I have no idea, but that's a whole nother story. Lots of other stories in this episode, but it's okay. And so I took a deep breath, and I started to make my second round. Because I said, girl, ain't no way in this whole store with these two different women departments that you're not going to be able to find something. So I walked around again. This time, like, I'm in it. Like, I'm looking through each one. And sometimes, sometimes when people are standing at a rack, you may not necessarily go to the rack because you don't want to interrupt them, right? And you want them to shop first. And like, I'm that way. I'm very, like, if I could shop at a store where nobody was in there, I would really much so like that. But anyway, so I took my time, and I went around a second time. And it was still happening. I wasn't finding anything. So finally, I picked up 2 skirts. One was like this satin pleated skirt, and it had a lot of details at the waist, and the color was like this rustic brown. And I was like, yeah, girl. Now, not only do I sing in this group, I lead praise and worship in this group. So sometimes I want my look to be a little bit more put together and a little bit more modest as the leader of this praise and worship group. So I'm kind of particular sometimes about what I wear when I minister. So when I saw this skirt, it was like a midi length, and I was like, this is gonna be perfect, right? Like, for those of you who don't know, midi is kind of like mid calf, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I was like, I must can find a top. Walking around a third time, can't find a top to match. But I was like, it's okay. You must have something at home between a blazer or a bodysuit. Like you like just get the skirt. And walking around my second time, I found another skirt. Now, this was like a red satin A-line skirt. And I was like, oh, perfect. This is perfect. Again, another color in the color palette. And I was like, oh, this is going to be, this is the skirt, right? Again, midi length. So very modest, very respectable. Again, I'm 5'3", so all of my heels, or majority of my heels, are like 4 inches, 5 inches high. So girl, I had from the feet to the skirt, I was like, this is going to be it. We didn't know what we were going to wear on the top, but we'd figured that out. So now, the first skirt that I picked up was in a size 10. Now, I used to work at this fashion brand way back in the day, and their sizing was a little bit more realistic back then. Again, I was also probably a whole different size back then. But I was like, oh, size 10? I started laughing because I was like, I know a size 10 is not going to fit me. But I took it anyway because, again, it was a pleated skirt. There was a lot of movement. There was a lot of space. I'm like, girl, between your undergarments and the shimmy shimmy, you're going to be able to make this work. And the red A-line skirt was a size 12. Again, I know this brand has really adjusted their size points in terms of like the numbers and how it fits. And I guess their suppliers have changed over the years. So I was like, okay, if the 10 doesn't fit me, the 12 definitely is going to fit me. So I picked up the two skirts and I saw this like sweater crop thing. I was like, oh, maybe this could work with the type of skirts that they are. Again, they were, high waisted, had details on the waist. So I'm like, this would probably be perfect. I started making my way to the change room. Now, if you're a girl, you get it. Sometimes going to the change room can really make or break your whole shopping experience because you have no idea what's going to happen. First of all, what kind of change room are they going to give you? Is the change room really, really small? Are you going to get luck out and be able to get the big change room? How many people are in there? Ugh, what's the vibe? So, the anxiety starts building. It starts building. Anyway, I got there and the first thing the girl said to me is like, how many pieces? Normal. I said 3. And she said, okay, you can go into this change room. And then she's like, make sure you put them on the hanger when you come out. So I heard her. I heard what she said, but I was still taken back by it because I've worked in retail and because I have my own fashion brand, I understand the importance of putting the things back on the hanger. So I know why she said what she said. However, for some reason, the fact that she said what she said, I almost wanted to turn to her and be like, girl, this is why you're here. Like, what? So I said to her, pardon? And she said, you can go into this change room. Please make sure you put the clothing back on the hangers when you come out. And I was like, Candace, just chill. So I was like, okay, no problem. Because in my mind, I'm like, you're the sales associate. You're working fitting room. And trust me, I have worked fitting room with this brand at this location. So I understand and overstand why she was saying it. But it's just the fact that like she had the audacity to say it because when I was working there, we never said those things to the customers. Sometimes the customers would all leave the stuff inside the change room and we would just have to just deal. But okay, different times. So I get into the change room, I look in the mirror and I take a deep breath and I'm like, girl, it's going to be okay. So I breathe and I start taking off my pants, taking off my sweater, like just trying to get prepared and ready to try on these clothes. So I started with the pleated skirt because in my mind, I'm like, this one has got to be it. Now, keep in mind, I also said to myself, girl, you have pleated material at home. You could have made this yourself. But again, I said it was Thursday and we were singing on Friday. So I was like, it's okay. So I started to put on the skirt. And when this is the size 10, and when I tell you I am shimmying, shimmy, shimmy, cocoa puff, shimmy, shimmy, ooh, like I am trying to get this thing on, right? So if you ain't jumping to put on your clothes, then what are you doing? So anyway, after two jumps, I get in. And I'm instantly laughing because I'm like, girl, this is not gonna zip up, right? So, as much as I'm laughing, it's like all I could do to prevent from crying because now you start thinking about all the things you shouldn't have eaten. I had literally just come from breakfast, brunch for my birthday. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have eaten that two, two pieces of toast and eggs. You're thinking about all of the exercises at the gym you should have gone harder at. And I just started to feel so bad about myself. And so I start to try to zip it up and it's not zipping. It's not going anywhere. And I'm like, girl, get out of this thing before you ruin it. So I shimmy out of it, put it back on the hanger, and I am like looking at the other one and I'm like, well, if that was the size 10, I'm sure the size 12 is not going to be any better. So I shimmy into the red one. It goes up a little bit easier, grateful, and it zips up. But just staring there, looking at myself in the mirror, I was not happy with the outcome. Did the skirt zip up? Yes. Was it a little bit snug? Yes. Did I feel amazing? No. Did I have a shirt to go with it? No. And I looked at the other like crop top sweater shirt thing that I had gotten that could have worked as a tuck in. I'm like, if it's snug already, how am I going to tuck something else in? And honestly, guys, I took off the skirt, put it back on the hanger, gave it back to the girl, and I walked out of the store. And instantly, I just wanted to go home, go to my car, go home, and just say, like, okay, forget it. I walked around the mall for a little bit, but then it got me started to thinking, and it reminded me as to why I created the Allen Avenue. I created the Allen Avenue because I didn't want women to have to go through these experiences. I think a lot of times we go into these stores and we try on these clothing based off of the sizes, right? I mean, that's just how it is. So, you could go to one clothing store and you're a size 8, you go to another one and you're a size 16. And unbeknownst to us, it kind of like plays on your psyche. It makes you feel all sorts of feelings that sometimes you didn't even know were an issue or a problem for you. On top of that, the clothes are not really making us feel amazing. So we're fighting in the change rooms. And then when we come home, we're fighting to still make it fit and feel right. And I was tired of that. I was tired of not feeling amazing in the clothes that I was wearing from some of these brands. On top of it, I don't like seeing other people in the clothes that I'm wearing, especially when I am wearing them. Now, when I used to work at this particular brand, I would go to events and be nervous because I wasn't sure if somebody had the piece or the item that I was wearing on. Sometimes I would even keep extra clothing in the car to make sure that to make sure that if somebody had something on, I could change into something else. And I hated that. Like, I believe, like, as women, as individuals, as even men, you are unique, you are beautiful, you are created as a unique person and a unique self. And who wants to go somewhere and seeing somebody else wearing the same thing that you're wearing? So that's why I created the brand. I created the brand, the Allen Avenue, for the sophisticated and modern woman and eventually men who wanted to stand out, who wanted to feel good, and wanted to look good in the clothing that they are wearing. So, how do I do that? Well, I mean, I make limited pieces. Yes, the pieces are all handmade by me. And a lot of times I realize that people don't understand that. So, I don't get my things from China. I don't get my pieces from another supplier. I am the supplier. So, I make all the pieces. And on top of that, which is most important, our sizing is realistic sizing. And I've seen the faces of women, especially who wear our pieces, who light up when they realize that they're really not a 4X, but they're a size large. And because I make the pieces and because of the patterns that I use, they speak to the real woman and her real body size. So our sizes range from extra small to 3XL. And again, they are very, very realistic. So in most of our pieces, I am a size medium, and sometimes a size large. So, and again, I'm 5'3", I'm 220 pounds. I've got a little curve at top, a little curve at the bottom, and a little hips and dips. So that can kind of give you a little inclination of of how the sizing fits. And overall, I just wanted to create a brand that made you feel good where you are and how you are. Um, And I think a lot of the fashion that we're seeing nowadays makes you feel like you have to change in order to become your best self, or you have to look a certain way in order to wear their pieces. And I wanted you to know at the Allen Avenue that you're perfect just the way that you are. And the problem isn't always us. And of course, like, yes, we need to go to the gym, we need to eat right, we need to do all these things, but in the meantime and in between time, we still need to love ourselves the way that we are. And the Allen Avenue brand speaks to that. So I'm going to start doing a little bit more of these that kind of allow me to come from behind the sewing machine and talk to everybody about the brand and how we started, maybe talk more about the individual pieces that that I promote on the page. But I want you to know that it's a real person sitting here behind the Allen Avenue. I know a lot of times it just looks like a finished product. You see the models, you see the reels, you see the videos, you see the hair, you see the makeup, but there's a real person behind it all, directing it and making it and presenting it to you. But I also want you to know that this brand is created with a lot of heart, with a lot of love. My desire, again, is for you to love who you are just the way you are. So, again, this is my truth. This is the reason behind why I started the Allen Avenue. And if this is your first time here, hi, this is the Allen Avenue, and my name is Candace Allen, and this is my truth.